tonight we are honored to be collaborating with the 3D Divas projects. Thank you for coming. 3D Divas, just like Rise Up Animation, got its start in the pandemic. I'm just gonna hold my Cintiq pen, even though I'm not using it, just to have something. Got its start in the pandemic. Everyone should just hold it. In 2020, with the intention to put a spotlight on female 3D artists from all over the world. Amazing, amazing, amazing. So what I was gonna do real quick is put the IG link in the chat for you guys to check it out. There it is. Hopefully everyone saw that, got it. Check out that page. Amazing. And so far, over 200 female artists were featured on 3D.Diva's Instagram account, and to represent this beautiful catalog of strong female 3D artists, we have an amazing lineup with us here today. Thank you everyone for coming and being a part of this. I know everyone's busy and in crunch time and that kind of stuff, but we appreciate your time and you being here and sharing your stories with our community. So I'd love to start out with just kind of going around the room and introducing ourselves, your name, nationality, and current job title where you are. We can go around the room. So because Melody, you are on my top left, let's go with you. Do you want to start it off and you can kind of hot potato around the room?
Sure.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
What was it? Name, job title, and
oh yeah, name, job title, nationality, bank account number, and Venmo number.
Venmo number. Okay. My name is Melody Romero. I'm an environment modeler at Disney Animation right now. I just started there like a month ago. Before this, I was at.
Already.
Huh?
Continue. I was saying you're rocking already.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Before this, I actually worked with Nikie at Nickelodeon on Star Trek, and nationality, I'm American. My parents are from the Dominican Republic, though. I was born in Illinois. Like I said before, I'm from Rockford, Illinois, and yeah, happy to be here.
Thank you for coming. Leticia?
Hello, I'm Leticia Gillett. I'm from Brazil. I've been here for about 10 years. I came mainly to study first. I went to normal school and then try to get to the animation industry here. My dream was always to work at Disney, like a lot of people. But before that, I worked for Blizzard on Overwatch for a while, then DreamWorks, then Netflix Animation, and now finally I got to Disney. It's gonna be about 2 years that I'm at Disney, and I'm a character modeler, a character model supervisor on the next show. Fantastic. I also teach, just to let people know. I have online classes. If anyone wants to
where do you teach?
I have a Gumroad right now in English, but in Portuguese, I do have some classes available in Portuguese. Yeah.
Nice, awesome. Thank you. Nikie, what do you think? Do you want to go next?
Sure, gotta go sometime.
Yeah.
I'm Nikie Monteleone, originally from upstate New York, born in America. I'm a European mutt. I think I'm a little bit of Irish and Scottish and Italian, and I think Hungarian on some side. I got all of that in there at some point. And yeah, currently lead look development artist on Star Trek Prodigy, which is actually premiering next Thursday. I'm super excited about it.
Oh, congratulations! Yes,
it's going to be really good. I'm really happy with this show. It's gonna be a good one.
What do you guys do for rap parties nowadays? Do you guys do that like?
What we're doing right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think, I mean, yeah, I think that's what's happening. I don't know. I've definitely seen a couple of people like, on Instagram, online, in a theater with masked up, of course. But yeah, I don't think we're doing that. I'm not sure.
I just wondering.
Yeah.
I'm always wondering.
Yeah, so happy to be here. Been kind of in this industry for like, I don't know, a decade. Been at DreamWorks commercial side of Leica House, Leica, onto their spin-off studio house special. And before that, I had a huge career change. So I won't get into all that, but
Maybe
this is,
we will get into it.
maybe later.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you, Nikie, for being here. Kristin.
My name is Kristin Müller, and I know everybody always pronounces it in a different way. I'm from Germany, and at the moment I am a lead animator at Sony Imageworks in Vancouver, and I work on a project which I can't say, but it will be good. Hopefully it will be good. That's what we're hoping for.
It's on this video, so it's in writing now.
Awesome. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. It was really exciting. Yeah.
Mariam, you're up.
Yep. I'm from Egypt, originally from Egypt, born and raised there, and I moved to LA 3 years ago to study and for work. I went to Noman School for visual effects. I started learning 3D like since I graduated from college, which is like I think 2016. But then I just got here to Noman. Afterwards, I've been working in Access Studios, and then afterwards I've been into the talent development program at Disney, and then now because effects artist at Blizzard Cinematic Team. Yeah.
Awesome. Congratulations on the new gig. Wow. Very cool. All right, so we can kind of get into the conversation. I will sort of preface this this panel and conversation a little bit of like being honest with everybody. Like I kind of felt a little bit nervous about it because I kind of felt like I was wondering like whether I was the one that should moderate these kind of topics with you like this esteemed panel and like really accomplished artists, but I will try my best. But shout out to the organization that put this together with Rise Up Animation, and I'm happy to be here. So let's get this started. So now that I got all my vulnerabilities out of the way.
That's one thing. If you go to the 3D Divas today, they're featuring Catherine.
Yes,
an amazing artist, friend of mine. She's here. I saw you. She's shy, but I'm telling you, she's here and she's amazing. So anyways, just so people go check it out.
Is she? Yeah, awesome. Welcome, Catherine. And yeah, she is featured today. So I wanted to kind of like go back to the beginning a little bit, everyone. So like, okay, let's start out with like history, right? So like back in the day, we know that women in the animation industry were sort of kind of limited to only doing kind of ink and paint, you know, those kind of like Snow White days and all that kind of stuff. And just a few female artists had the chance to succeed in other roles that were kind of, I mean, like not kind of, but very much mostly done by men. And then thanks to the feminist movements of the 70s, 80s, and 90s, this male dominated industry changed, and it's given more women opportunities to thrive in other departments, right? In a wide variety of departments as well. So a question for the panel. So what inspired you to become a 3D artist? Or it could be who, like was there somebody? So we can do, Melody, you wanna kick this off? Like what inspired you to get into this in the first place?
Well, when I was a little kid, I watched a lot of Disney movies like most kids do in America and around the world. My favorite was Lion King. And I loved animation, but I don't know. I guess what specifically made me want to get into 3D was just like, I wasn't that great at drawing. I know that sounds bad because it's like, oh, I wasn't that good at something, so I just did the other thing. But I always really liked making like houses and little sets and dioramas when I was a kid. Like that was always my favorite part of school, was like the diorama assignment. So I feel like once I started learning animation in college, like doing 3D environments was like a very natural next thing, because it was like the CG version of what I already like to do. So it's just like, yeah. And then when I was in high school, Tangled came out and I was like, oh, like I can work in animation even though I'm not that great at drawing, and I can like work on these cool sets and stuff. So yeah, I know it just all like fell into place at one point.
Wow. That's awesome. I mean, like it's like one of those things that we have in common. That you found that is incredible. It's like a miracle that anyone can sort of like at that age too, and that you kind of find what you want to do in life. Awesome. Also, I feel very old. Tangled just came out like last week for me.
Last week.
Leticia, what do you think? You mentioned a little bit about it coming from Brazil.
Yeah, so back home in Brazil, you know, I come from a family of architects, and you know, I like drawing, so obviously I was supposed to be an architect as well. I went to architect school, and I got exposed to 3D for the first time. But before that, same as Melody, like I always loved drawing Disney characters, you know, and always had a passion to sculpting as well. It's like clay, and you know, the kids clay. I don't know how to call it in English, but yeah. And when I got to college, that was when I was exposed to 3D with AutoCAD, and I don't know, it's sort of like connected the dots of all the movies like Toy Story and all that stuff. Finding Nemo was one big for me. That I was like, wow, I wish I could do this, but in my head there was no way. I didn't even know what was going on, how to go about it, right? But then when I got exposed to 3D in college, I was like, oh, okay, so this is how it works. And I decided to quit architect school and start studying design. And on my own free time, I would study 3D because like there was no design at that time at any school for 3D specifically, you know. So a lot of it was in the beginning was just me watching tutorials, you know, you know, I mean, I was a young girl at that time. So it was tutorials, buying books, you know, following book tutorial on the books and stuff. Yeah. And then I got to, in my city, like I said, it's kind of like a medium to small size city. So I got the chance there was a school that opened there that had some 3D classes with amazing teachers, actually. They're still my mentors until today.
Nice.
And that was when I was like, okay, yeah, this is going to be my career, you know. And I always tend to like characters more than environments, but I do both. But I try to specialize more in characters in general. One funny thing you said is that at that time, my heroes on 3D, there was no women, right? A lot of it were men. And I remember when I met online, right? I met her work. Her name is Z Jones. And she was doing a lot of realistic characters for cinematics and stuff. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy, you know? And that was very inspiring for me to find a woman to get inspired by, you know. And obviously with time, more and more women start appearing on the 3D sculpting parts of things. But for me, that was a very strong moment where I was like, yeah, she did it, I'm gonna do it too, you know, that kind of feeling. So,
yeah, for sure. Thanks, Leticia.
Yeah.
And then Nikie, you're
yeah. I try to keep this short because it's definitely a little bit of a roller coaster for me to get to where I am. Okay. I grew up in a, you know, just like you guys said, like drawing Disney characters. Like I got a book every single Christmas. Like that was a different Disney book, or I got easel, or I got pastels, or whatever it was. I had a really supportive family of like, okay, she likes drawing. That's what she's gonna do.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I am very, very appreciative of that. Like, you know, now meeting people in the industry and seeing like others may have not been so fortunate. But so high school, I gravitated towards, I mean, you know, I did a lot of painting and drawing and stuff, but I gravitated towards ceramics. So yeah, I got my start there and actually went to college for ceramics. That was my first declared major. Maryland Institute College of Art, and quickly realized that I didn't understand how I was going to make money doing that. And like, I like things. I like things. So
I like money.
yeah, I
Yeah,
think, you know, to a certain extent, it's kind of important.
Yeah.
Like with. So I switched over to sculpture, and it was like same thing. I didn't really understand what to do with that. And then the school offered a major called fibers, which is kind of like fashion adjacent. So I started doing that, and it was like, okay, well, you have to declare this and you can't change it. So I just kind of was like stuck in this fashion major that I kind of wanted to be there, but I didn't really know what to do with that either. So I was introduced to SolidWorks my senior year, and I was like, ooh, I can make 3D printed print blocks instead of like carving them out by hand. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna do that. Like that seems cool to me. And so at the end of the day, I think I got like a C on my senior thesis because, you know, it's a fine art school. You're cheating, you're using the computer, you're not doing, you know, CG, like, oh, what is this thing? Like, why are you doing this? Like you know, you shouldn't be doing this. So I kind of got like a little, I was like sad about that. Like teachers should be teaching you that like the computer is just another tool, software is just another tool. It's not like, yeah, I'm making this thing and I'm making it quicker and it's just as cool because I'm actually sculpting it at the computer. I'm not sculpting it by hand. So I graduated and like was still, you know, had it in the back of my mind that like, okay, I really like doing this thing on the computer, but I don't know what to do with it yet. Like I think my school had like a copy of Maya and no one knew how to use it. This was like 2005 when I graduated. So, and then everybody else that I knew that was in CG, they were all like just guys, and they were all doing like video game stuff. I think there was like one game studio in Maryland that like everybody was trying to get into. And I was like, I don't want to do that either. So it's like, I worked on like the set of a couple of movies, like in the art department, which was cool. Like did a couple of commercials, like on set stuff. And then went and did, I was an assistant to a gallery artist in Soho for a little bit, like creating her work, which was like not my thing either. So I moved on to the graphic design industry, and kind of like going all the way back to the ceramic stuff. I was doing prints and patterns for merchandise. So it was kind of like, okay, I'm still working on a flat surface, but at least I'm able to do this pattern work that I really like doing in ceramics. But it was still like, no, I want to do this CG thing and I don't know how to do it. So I'm gonna figure it out. And it was like watching Toy Story, as we all do in this industry, with a bunch of friends. And I noticed there's like this dinosaur with a pattern on it, and like it's making me emotional. I'm like, this dinosaur is making me laugh. This dinosaur is making me cry. Like this T-Rex toy in this movie. Oh my God, there's a pattern on it. Somebody got paid to do that. I want to do that. Like that's cool. I want to put patterns on characters that have an effect on people. Cool. So long story short, yeah, I quit my Fifth Ave, you know, senior graphic design job, and like went back to school and was an intern for a really long time, and then moved over to Portland, and then down to LA a decade later. Very shortened, lots of blood, sweat, tears, like tears, more tears, lots of tears, so many tears. But eventually made it, and School of Google, and like continuing ed at SVA. So
nice. Hey.
I think I kept that as short as I could. Sorry, guys.
That's awesome. I do relate to the you know, kind of like taking new classes to relearn new things. I do relate to that very much.
Yeah, whatever makes you happy.
Yeah. Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you. And then Kristin.
So mine is not, it's also roller coaster, but definitely not as intense as yours. I think like first time I thought about like I was always drawing as a kid, but I'm not sure why, but in Germany we have a lot of like animes and like Ghibli movies. So I always remember my first movie I was super into was like Princess Mononoke. And I was like, oh my God, it's just drawings and they're actually really simple, but they made me cry really badly. So I actually just started like drawing a lot of like comic books or like trying to copy. But like my whole family, they're engineers. Like my sister now works at the MIT, my dad is a math teacher, and my mom is an engineer. So they were really supportive, but I was always like, I really like math and physics. So I went more into this direction and did like this global thing with media, like with coding and even photography and film. So like a big thing where in Germany, we always say, if you don't know what to do, you just do everything with media and just find out. And in my class, like I was still drawing at this point, but then people always told me my art isn't good. And so I kind of like stopped and was like, oh, right, it's not good enough for anything. So I went more into like coding area, but still also 3D, a little bit of modeling. But then I moved to Austria and did a master because like in Germany, studying is for free. So when you don't know what to do, you just keep studying to find out what you actually want to do.
Very nice.
Yeah,
So jealous
like
of that.
now moving to this kind of the world, like to this part of the world, I'm like, I'm so fortunate. And in Germany, everybody hates to like why study and stuff. So I'm like, that's already good. So I like tried to find out what I want to do. And a friend of mine actually, she was studying at a really like famous like German, like the only animation school we have, and they're doing this big animation event called the FMX.
Is it Film Academy?
Yes, of course. It's the only one.
Sorry.
We only have one.
Oh, okay.
And she was actually taking care of all the Disney speakers. And she was like, do you want to come to lunch with them and like just hang out? So I started to talk to them. And they were also nice. And like, I realized as everybody else, like you can actually make money with this if you like just work. It's not like everybody's good at this thing. You learn for it. And so I was like, okay, I don't have any money at the moment. So I'm just trying to like kind of teach myself and post. Like I was fortunate that we had like social media. So I was like posting in like blogs and Facebook and just asking for people to give me feedback literally. And I was just lucky enough that people actually reached out and like helped me. So without knowing anything about like animation, really just like all the self-taught stuff, I landed a job in London for a TV show. And I didn't even know, like for all the animators out there, what a tween machine is, like this really simple tool where you just click and you animate. And at that point, I had no idea. And the studio there was a TV studio, and they literally taught me everything I know now in like a year. It was like 8 seconds a day. It's like a lot of content, and you just animate, and it's like a learning school. And I'm still so eternally grateful for them, like taking me on without any like experience really. And yeah, then I did one feature over in London and then came to Vancouver here. And yeah, it's like everything in a short term.
Yeah, awesome. And then lastly, last but not least, Mariam.
Oh, I think I have this similar background to Melody and Leticia. So like it all started with Disney movies basically, but the only thing is like at that time in Egypt we did not have Disney Channel at that time. So my dad used to record Disney movies for us because he used to work in the US and get us like videotapes for like all the Disney movies. So shout out to my dad because he started all.
Shout out, Mr. Hamed.
But yeah, and, afterwards it was not until like college. Like I loved watching movies. All the movies. Like, I used to like just like watch it all the time. But I never like actually thought about it as a career till college. I learned I was into an interior. I'm studying to learn interior designing. This is where I learned AutoCAD and like 3ds Max and stuff like that. And then like one day I just like saw like the making of Avatar, and it was a turn point in my career. Because when I saw that, I was like, the people do that, like actual like people, like they're not like aliens with like magical creatures doing movies. They're actual people doing that. So I just completely switched my major. studied instead of like finishing as interior designer, I finished up as a set designer basically. And then afterwards, I studied a year in a institute called ITI, where like you learn 3D art basically. And then I was basically a modeler and texturer for a while, and then I wanted to become an effects artist. So I studied Houdini, but then I wanted to further my studies, so I came to Noman to basically study more. Yeah.
Got it.
That's all.
And then you went to Noman, and was Disney your first gig? Did you say?
Oh no! So like after like
How's it
Noman
going?
was like my last day was the day with the governor shut everything down. Literally, we had to grab everything like because it was everyone should be at home. Was my last day at school. So afterwards, I worked for Access for a bit. Access Studios. They're a studio in Scotland. I work on an episode in Love Death and Robots, and I worked on a cinematic. But then afterwards, I got accepted into the talent development program at Disney.
Awesome. Right on. Right on. Thank you everyone for sharing your stories. And I mean, like I think I love doing these kinds of panels too, just because like, you know, when you're not necessarily in Los Angeles, or maybe you are, maybe you aren't, but like a lot of us were not from Los Angeles. I wasn't even that far. I was in Seattle, Washington, but Los Angeles and Hollywood just seems so far away. And then you kind of feel like someone from the outside looking in, and you just have no idea how to get there. So these kinds of stories, I think, are very encouraging for people that are aspiring to get into the animation industry that are in the same boat. You know, and it's not impossible, you know, but everyone kind of has their own path. Yeah, very inspiring stories. Thank you for sharing them. And then so we get into the some hard-hitting questions. Just kidding, they're not that hard-hitting. But I think I wanted to start off too by talking about the kind of like the workforce now. And I know that a lot of, this is for the panel too, I know a lot of the animation studios have been making a big effort in recent years to create a sort of like 50-50 workforce. And so now, do you think that the industry is still male dominated, or do you think that 50-50 balance has been reached, or what are your thoughts on that for the panel? Anyone can kind of like chime in and go ahead.
Well,
No?
from my experience, no.
Yeah, no, I don't think
Are
so.
we all collectively saying no?
Yes.
Collectively saying no. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you didn't interrupt. Go ahead. Please feel free to elaborate.
Leticia, yeah, I think you were.
I was
you were
going to say,
saying.
I think
yeah.
that I've seen from the studios I've seen the effort for sure going on. We're not there yet, you know, but it doesn't mean that the effort is not being done. I think, you know, being able to participate on like portfolio reviews for some of the studios I work for, etc., you can see already recruiters having the conscience of reaching out to different groups, you know, being more diverse on the selection they make for artists, not just women, but, you know, diversifying in all aspects. Yeah, but we definitely didn't reach there yet, you know, but I have hopes. I have hopes.
Yeah.
It's definitely changing. I mean, I think like my first real studio gig, I was supposed to be there for like 3 weeks, and it ended up being like 4 or 5 years. They ended up hiring me, which I was very thankful for, but I was quite literally the only female on the CG team almost the whole time. There was one other female that we hired that was a modeler. She was there for a couple of months, but it was like every other person. I mean, we had a fairly small skeleton team. There were maybe like 10 of us, but it was just, it kind of was normal for me. All of the directors, art directors, they were all men.
Yeah.
All of our producers, however, were all women. So that was kind of a weird like dividing line. But as I've come to LA is like, okay, there are definitely women everywhere, and it's getting much better, and I think it's like very rapidly growing. Where like just in the last couple of years, I think I've only ever had like 2 female art directors, and I still don't think I've had any like female directors. And this very last show that I worked on, like my immediate boss was a female, but other than that, yeah, it's been all men for the most part. But I'm working to change it. I'm in a position now where I can hire
Yeah,
people.
we all
Yeah,
I agree 100%. We're in good places and good positions to.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you just like have to put yourself, like as females, like you have to put yourself in a spot where maybe you don't think you belong, like just, you know, to build yourself up and to like understand like, yeah, you do belong here. Like it's not just a male industry. Like I can do it too. You guys can do it too. Like it's, you know, it is very weird though. It started out like this gamer, like, oh, you have to know how to code, and like you have to be in your basement, and like, you know, the stereotype of like a guy in his basement, like anyway. But yeah, so it's getting better.
Yeah,
and it's exciting.
I think it's the same for me. I had one female lead once for like only 3 months before the project ended, but I never had a female supervisor or director, not that I can remember. And now that I'm a lead now, it's still pretty recent, was like beginning of this year. And I wanted to not take it because as you said, you sometimes think you don't belong. But then I got I was like, okay, I do it because as you said, you have to be in those spots to like lift others up. And I tried, like I had quite a bit of females on my team, and some actually reached out and was like, that's so great to actually have a female lead, because most of them never had. And it like, yeah, it's just this thing where you have to do the things you maybe don't want to do just to help the others after you to.
Wow.
100%.
That's great. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like I can't say as much because I haven't been in the industry as long. But there are definitely like really great groups, like women in animation that I've been a part of, and 3D Divas that like do strive to create like gender parity in the industry and stuff. And it's great like having like female, like women running these organizations and like striving for that. Yeah. And yeah, it can be intimidating like being around lots of men and not seeing any women in leadership or hardly any. It's definitely something that I was like worried about as a student. Like I was like, am I gonna even be able to get into the industry? Like, is it like, am I gonna feel uncomfortable going to work every day kind of thing? And then like, you don't wanna put yourself out there as much. Like stuff like this is always like, oh, you know, I feel like I should do it because I am a woman in the industry and I wanna like encourage other female students who wanna break in, who might not see as many women like coming to give lectures or on panels kind of thing.
Melody, did you have a lot of female teachers or like anybody at Noman? I'm curious.
At Noman, I did have a couple female teachers. Yeah, like there was Tran.
A couple. Andrea, you had Andrea.
Yeah, Andrea was there. Tran.
I taught at Noman for a while as well, but yeah, it's more dominant male.
Yeah.
In general, I'll say. As well on the teaching.
Teachers and students, yeah.
Yeah. It's very rare. I remember as a teacher, you know, paying attention, and like normally I would have 1-2 women on my class, the rest were men, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Mariam, did you have any thoughts on your experience so far? I mean, same.
Basically, I have like the same experience. But back at Disney, like I had Erin as a supervisor, and she was a great inspiration for me. I feel like we should actually not get intimidated by how little we get represented, because like if we just like stopped applying to jobs because like we don't have like enough, there's not enough like women like working there, we'll never grow, like, or like we're never actually increasing them. So I feel like if we just stopped like being afraid or just like intimidated by how like we're like super little or represented, we're gonna just like reach the position as like all the people here that actually can actually change like how like the hiring process, or like how they can hire more like women in the industry basically, or like any other like to stop like just hiring one particular like people. And I feel like this would happen when we actually like just like stop being afraid and apply, and I don't know, like
Yeah, you have to have some bold personality in some degree, right? Because you have to really love what you do sometimes to even apply to stuff. It's like, oh, I'm gonna try, you know, because so competitive and so male oriented as well. And but I love how like there is awareness now, you know, because in the past there was a tendency of like people will review portfolios and they'll be like, oh, I want someone that I feel comfortable with. So maybe if a group of men, they're like, oh, we don't want to bring a woman and change the dynamic, or, you know, things like that. But I feel like the students are holding the supervisors more accountable to that, you know, and being very open about talking about that, and how like it's not about making you feel comfortable, you know, it hopefully you will, but it's about diversifying, because the more diverse we get, the different perspectives of stories we'll get, different, you know, it's like and I think a lot of the studios are feeling that even if it's a pressure or they're, you know, trying to evolve, but yeah.
I will say, like working from home has kind of helped me a little bit with like confidence, or, you know, just kind of like showing up to the job and like doing the best I can. I'm only 5 feet tall. So a lot of people think I am a lot younger or like a lot more inexperienced than I am. And I have been talked down to so many times by people underneath me, like in person. Like I remember there was this one specific guy who came in as a freelancer, and I was supposed to be giving him tasks, and God, he was like 6'5" or something. So he just always towered over me and told me like just straight up, no, I'm not doing that. And so people can only see me now from the top up. And
you look tall in the camera. You could trick me.
Somebody told me the other day that I have tall person energy, so I took that.
That's good. That's good. I'm small too, but I think I have tall energy as well.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously we all want to get back to the studio, but it's been like a very weird thing for me to go like from that dynamic of like people being like a lot, just like literally like over top of me, like telling me no, to just the screen, and it's not there anymore. It's, you know, and it'll probably come back as we come back to the studio. But yeah, like it's just weird. Even like appearance matters as a woman. Like I think about it, I'm super conscious about it all the time, like how short I am. So yeah, anyway, I got off on a tangent, but it's
No.
it's something I think about all the time.
That's a great, Nikie, thank you for bringing that up too, because that's a great segue into the next question, which is literally, have you ever experienced instances where you felt underestimated by your classmates or coworkers? And that's a perfect example of that kind of stuff. You can keep going, Nikie, or Kristin, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, when you mentioned this, I was like sometimes you don't think about it. Somebody mentioned, and you're like, oh yeah, because as I said, I'm a lead now, and one of the reasons why I didn't want to be one is I'm still pretty young. I even look younger than I actually am, and I'm like, it's sometimes when you have like a senior animator who's been there forever, it's like, you know, a male person, and you can feel that they sometimes don't take you seriously because you look younger, you're a girl, you maybe look girly or whatever, and
you have lipstick, you wear nice shirt,
right?
You're nice to people. I don't know.
You're nice. Yes.
So yeah, and I think that's like a big deal, where it's a lot of fear. That I have even friends, she's even younger than me, and she was a lead earlier, and she got so much like this underlying sense of that nobody respected her, even like when there was a lead group and there was just her, a young female, and all men, and even this dynamic, she could feel that they were more like clicking together than instead of her. So I feel like, yeah, you get to, I mean, I'm not sure, I'm not a young man, so maybe it's the same for young men, I don't know. But yeah, you can definitely feel that.
I had a back home in Brazil, not here. I had a horrible experience where I was teaching. I was 23 at the time, so I was very young, but I was teaching. And there was a group of parents that were walking by and they're selling classes. And my boss, they came in my class and said, "Hey, Leticia, can you come out for a second?" Then he put a man inside for a second to pretend he was teaching the class, because if the parents saw me teaching, it would not go well for the school, because I looked so young and I was small and a woman, you know. And that was at the time, you know, I laugh and I was like, oh yeah, whatever. But when you stop to process, you know, you're like, what the hell just happened? You know,
That boils my blood. Like,
yeah.
Oh God, I'm so sorry that
You
that
know.
happened to you. Oh, ugh.
Yeah.
That's
Luckily
terrible.
here, you know, I mean, you obviously you have to build confidence. You have to put, you know, you have to be bold. I like to use the word bold, and you know, I built enough confidence that I know where I should be, you know, in a way. So I don't feel bad about being a supervisor, a woman, being tiny or whatever it is, you know what I mean? But when you're growing up and being young, and it's very deteriorating, you know, the stuff you go through. Anyways,
No,
Yeah.
that's great. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Mariam, it looked like you wanted to say something, and I cut you off.
I'm so sorry that happened. I don't know, like I'm not sure if that, like, I had a lot of like incidents that happened where, like, I'm not sure if it's just because that person is rude, or it's just like me as a woman was like, everybody's just like looking down at me because I'm a woman. So I'm not sure if it's actually like being a woman was like what triggered it. But like, actually, like, one of the incidents that happened to me here first when I came here, it was at school, and one of the students like he was like super rude to me, and he was like, and his explanation was like, why are you like sad or angry, like your boss is gonna like tell you the same thing that I'm telling you right now. And I was like, wow. It's like, for me, I told him like, hey, if you get treated like that by your boss, it's on you, but it's not on me. So like, you don't get to actually treat people like that. But that, I have no idea, like, I don't think that it was because I was a woman, but I think like it was, I don't know, like, it was a really bad like incident that happened to me, and I was super surprised that actually happened in the US, was not like actually in Egypt. It's like, yeah. In Egypt, we had like a totally like, yeah, same stuff like that happened at work, where like people think because like you're a woman, you're not super technical, or it's just like you can't actually be like not, yeah, like you can't be like smart, or like they would not trust you in like really bigger jobs or something unless like you really really prove yourself. Like you have to, I feel like we have to fight to prove, like we have to spend extra like hard, like we have to spend like extra effort to just like prove we can do it, like just give us the job. We have to like explain and just like fight for it, which is like, I don't think that like being I don't know, like it's just for me, like I had to fight for everything basically.
Very hard. Yes.
It's so funny, like you guys are doing the moderating for me. That was literally the next question that we had lined up was, have you ever had to prove yourself and your knowledge in order to gain respect? And so the answer is yes. Do you guys want to talk about those experiences a little bit and how you kind of overcame them?
I think for me, a lot of it was like what Nikie said. People would, you know, assume that I was younger. You know, they see a girl, and then if you look younger than you are. I experienced that before, where when you show your work, people like, oh my God, you're so experienced. How old are you? That people ask, and like, it shouldn't be, I don't know, it's kind of weird thing to say sometimes, when but that happened many times to me about basically age, and also my voice, right, is very cartoony. So my voice doesn't help either. I don't have a deep voice, you know what I mean? So but yeah, I feel like every job you go, I don't know if that's a woman thing, but independent, maybe in some degree you have to prove yourself, right? But for me, a lot of it came because of my voice and my looks. But yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm there 100% with you, like feeling like I have to prove myself when maybe I don't even need to.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know if I'm like scarred from maybe having to do that a lot over the past years. Like, I didn't go to an animation school. Like, I didn't have a huge network of people. I worked myself into the ground trying to prove myself for such a long time, like trying to build a website and an Instagram page and an art station, and like making sure like you could Google me, or it's just it's weird to think about now that like I'm actually talking about it out loud, but the feeling of having to prove myself is still there, and it's there every single day. I mean, like, I did a GDC talk, which I was super excited about. I mean, I maybe didn't feel like I belonged there because I'm not in the game industry, but there, it went up online on YouTube, and there was all this back and forth of, no, there was all this back and forth from guys. Why is she here? She better be skilled. Like, they better not have invited her just because she was a woman. A lot of those comments got taken down, thankfully, but those are the only things, of course, that I'm paying attention to, versus like the 100 "thank you so much" comments for being here. But that kind of stuff's always in the back of your head of like, okay, well, I need to do better next time. I need to prove myself. I need to prove to everybody that, sure, yeah, I do belong here. I am good. I worked very hard to be here, and yeah, confidence. Still working on that.
Everyday task.
Yeah, every day.
Yeah, I remember this one time, like, there were like, one of the big studios was hiring, and I'm not sure why, but a lot of women got hired, and even in like closer friend groups, it was always the talk of like, oh, they need to get the women quota, that's why they got hired. Which is like, even if you get the job you really want, you have to ask yourself, like, is it because of me? Is it because, it's like you keep questioning yourself, even if you actually get your dream job. You're like, am I still supposed to be here? Yeah. And it was like really hard. Even like closer people to me, I was like, how can you think like this?
Yeah, I've definitely had people say that to me before. Like, they're like, oh, you're good, but I'm sure it helped that you were like a girl. I'm sure it helped that you're like a minority. Like, I'm sure that was a factor. And I'm just like, man, I worked really hard to be here. Like, I kind of feel the same way you guys do, where I felt like I spent my whole life thinking I had to work twice as hard as everybody else to feel like I could do the same things and be just as good as them and have the same consideration. And then to finally get in and have people, like people close to me say like, oh, I'm sure it helped that you are like a woman and I'm a minority, because they're trying to like hire more diversely. It's like, that stuff really gets to you. And, it's hard to like not think about that.
Not think about it. You even question yourself. It's like, wait a minute. You start questioning the whole hard work you did your whole life. It's like, did I really get hired just because I'm a woman, or something? Obviously you have to be good. They were going to hire, but like, yeah, I know what you mean. It's always in the back of your head. It's very weird.
And it's easy for people just to say like, to forget that kind of thing, and like, no, you are good. And, so many people will tell you that throughout your life. And it's like, no, I still, I don't know. I don't know. It's like something that I need to work on, just blocking that stuff out. But it's hard. It's very hard.
Yeah. Mariam, did you have any thoughts on kind of
I
that?
feel the same, to be honest. I feel like even now, like I try to block this like thoughts out of my head because it's not healthy. But I feel like when I apply to job and I get it, I know I'm not bad, but I also think like why I'm like, is it because like they need more like women, or they want to be more diverse? And I always like think like, oh, like maybe I'm not that good, but they really like hire me because of that. But I try to, as much as I can, to just like shut it out. And I also like have this thing where like if I apply to the same position as like a lot of like people I know and they did not get it, I feel like I'm comforting them. I'm like, oh, like probably they hired me because I'm a minority or something. And I was like, I feel like that's so bad to say, and it's just, I don't know why. But I feel like, yeah, that's the thing, which is, yeah, like I try to block that, but it's the thing like that. I don't know. I'm not sure like when I would stop thinking that way, but like hopefully I just like block it as much as I can.
Does that kind of tie into like when you first like, in your first couple months or weeks into the new job, you kind of have to come out like, you feel that extra 100,000% pressure of just like come out swinging, of just kind of like going 200% on like everything, of like overachieving and all that kind of stuff? Is there that kind of pressure for you kind of coming in the beginning for a new gig where nobody knows you yet, or maybe hasn't worked with your skill set yet? Or
Not the first week, I would say the first year. Yeah.
Oh, I get it. Yeah.
The new gig, or like in the beginning of your career, or both?
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
for me,
Fair
every
enough.
job I
that's
had, it was my first year. I you got to prove a lot, and especially if you dream high, which I do, so for me it was always the first year at work.
I feel like it's not just working hard too, it's like everything. I feel like I have to be extra nice, extra personable, extra communicative. Like I have to do everything great, because it's like, even if I do well at work, they're going to be like, oh, well, she wasn't that like friendly or whatever. Because, there's always a stereotype with women to like smile more and like be nicer. And yeah, there's a lot of messaging there.
Yeah.
I want to say
don't be bossy.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Just saying, not be bossy. It's like every time you have to think about it, am I too bossy? Is this like a trait nobody wants to see? And it's like, yeah, sorry.
I like being bossy though.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I
but
mean,
it's like,
you can be bossy, just like also have empathy.
No, but I know what you mean. People don't look well, women too bossy, and you definitely keep that on the back of your mind, like I might be too bossy, or something. But what I was going to say is that thankfully, every studio I went, when you join and you have all these questions about like, oh, did they pick me because I'm a woman or whatever, there's always a group of women, at least for me, that's my experience, that lift you up very fast. Like Catherine was one of them at DreamWorks. At Disney I have many, Suzanne, Alina, like so many, and that is awesome because that makes you feel so empowered again, and like yeah, let's do this, sort of thing. So much appreciated.
Yeah, I feel that, because like at first I know that for sure, because at first like 3 months or something, I'll be like make sure that I'm super presentable, like I'm like putting makeup on, I'm like just like in the camera, like nice camera, nice everything, and I'm like, and afterwards it's just like for me to get comfortable, like, or just speak up my mind, and then I'd be like my own person. I'm like, I don't have to like do all that, I can actually be myself. But yeah, like I totally like feel that that you like, yeah, we have, I don't know, like I'm not sure if it's because I'm a woman, or because like it's the same thing for everyone when they first start the job, to just prove themselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I wanna like flip side this. When I first started out in the industry, yes, like I felt like I have to prove myself a lot. And you know, I came in and maybe didn't have like the best reel, or I didn't have like a big movie on there. No one knew what the heck my, you know, anything in my reel was. But I've been working very hard on my own confidence lately, and like I've kind of come to the conclusion that like I don't know, I think I'm pretty good at what I do, and I try to bring that energy to work with me. And you know, I'm not gonna go around and be like I know everything and I know that I'm good and like what you doing is shit. But um, I don't know. I'm trying really hard to kind of like, you know, maybe look at all the men that are there and see how they're presenting themselves, even though I think maybe I might be a little bit better than them. Or but yeah, I kind of had maybe a little bit of a crutch when I started at DreamWorks. I was really fortunate to get like the splash screen of the software that we're all using to paint. So when I came in, it was like everybody was literally looking at my name when they opened up the software that they were using for the day. And I was like, okay, like everybody knows
weird.
my my work. I just need to make sure
Cool.
that they know that that's me, so that
Cool.
I don't have to prove myself. It's like, yeah, like I worked incredibly hard. Like I got turned down for another DreamWorks gig, and I was like, I'm gonna go and I want to make something for myself. And it ended up like, oh, this company was like, oh, we want to use it as a splash screen. So that gave me a lot of confidence to like start the gig.
Yeah.
And people, I think like they remember that, like the new studios that I've been at, and I use it maybe more as a crutch, but it has really helped me. Like, you know, I make sure any talk that I am asked to do, I'm like, yes, I'm going to do it. Even though, oh my God, I'm so like every single talk I've ever done, like stressed out to the nines. Like my poor husband, he could tell you stories about, I mean, like one of those talks even put me in the hospital. It was really bad, just stress wise. But like I put myself in those situations to build my confidence. And I think I've been doing a really good job at that. And like just as females, like we all just need to do that. Like you guys are all good. You're very good at what you do, and you're here, you're on this panel. So I think it's just really important to like pat yourself on the back every now and again too. So yeah.
Sorry, one of the things I was thinking of too, to that point, Nikie, was like, and to a lot of points that were being made tonight of like, just coming into a workplace and seeing someone, seeing a female in a place of like power, like a director or like a producer or something like that, and then how empowering that could be for you as well. And I just wanted to point out too of like, I feel like everyone on this panel is on their way there. So like that's the investment too, right? Of just kind of like what everyone said, of just kind of like working hard at your day job, but also kind of like working hard to be an inspiration for like people coming into the industry as well, or coming into this new job as well. You know, you're a lead, and you know, they kind of come in, they see you, and they see that leadership, and they see the confidence, and they see everything, the boldness, like Leticia likes to say, and it's just empowering for like, you know, for them. So that there was not even leading to a question. I just wanted to say that I kind of felt like I feel like it's really important, you know, for females to come into the industry, see these like luminaries, and then be inspired by that, like whether it's explicit or just kind of internal, you know, and that kind of stuff. And I feel like everyone on this panel is on their way. You guys speak very eloquently about your journeys, and very eloquently about like what your goals are. And all of your goals, the thing they have in common is to inspire people that come after you. So I think that's really great. Just want to say that really quick. On the last question, I'm gonna move on so I don't ramble. So this question, I'm not sure I have the authority to ask this kind of question, but I'll just say it anyway. We all grew up in films, books, and all kinds of entertainment that constantly pit women against each other. So have you ever had to deal with like female rivalry at work or university? And if so, why do you think that is?
I'll let somebody else take this because I don't think I've ever gone through that. I've surrounded myself with females that lift me up versus I mean, I have a lot of lift up friends, so we're maybe all vying for the same gig, but it's more of like a good luck, I hope you get it. Like seriously, I you know, I only ever want my coworkers, my female friends to be happy in this, because it's a really cutthroat industry, even though it's like, oh, you get paid to paint. That's so cool. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of other things.
And so little spots, right? Especially
so
for
little.
modeling look. Yeah, but I mean, not that I can think of, I would say it's same as Nikie. Like I surrounded myself with people that always wanted my best, and the women especially, you know. And it's the same thing. We all after school went for the same jobs, and we were all excited when one got it and the other didn't, or whatever it is, you know. And yeah, I did not have that experience yet. You know?
Yeah,
I mean, I love that. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Mariam.
Oh, yeah, I haven't either. I feel like all the women, I've been lucky enough to be around women who have been very supportive. And I feel like they also drill it into your head in school so much that like, you need to be cool to everybody around you to like build a network, because the people in your class and the people you work with are going to like be the people that you work with for a long time. So like, not that I ever had any inkling or any inclination to start a rivalry or anything, but I feel like everyone is just in the mindset of like, you know, gotta like make friends and be cool to the people around you so that you can like, you know, have those people around later on in your career. And
I mean, you never know who you're gonna work for, and then who's gonna work for you, and then it keeps. I mean, that's definitely happened to me before. So Melody, maybe like I work for you next.
And it's such a small industry too. Like people do end up working with each other all the time. Like Mariam and I both went to Noman together, and then I mean, we only worked at Disney together for like a week or two before she left for Blizzard. But yeah, it's such a small industry, and there are so few women that I feel like when you do see other women, it's like, oh, it's like really exciting, you know? Like, yeah, I was lucky enough when I started at Nick to also start at the same time as like another woman, and she had been working in visual effects for a really long time before she got to Nick. And I think she was also just excited because like visual effects is also very heavily male dominated. And so she was happy to like start with another woman. And it was cool to like work with her because she had so much experience and very different experience than animation.
Yeah.
And sorry, Melody, she's my work wife now. So I know me and her are we're besties now. So but yeah, it's true. It's like this industry is so small.
Small,
even like to New York, and you know, like all four corners are and Vancouver and Montreal, and like all, even I know people who work in Australia and London and France, and it's just the smallest industry. And unfortunately, yes, like if you cannot be a jerk if you want to be a jerk. I mean, I personally don't think anybody wants to, but there's probably some people out there that do. But yeah, that's definitely a huge lesson. Advice I always give to anybody.
And I always like to say to my students, like, keep it professional. You know, sometimes work might feel like home sometimes with your friends and stuff. But you gotta be careful, you know. It's like at the end of the day, it's still work, and you work premises or work Zoom call or whatever it is. You always have to you know, think about it, because again, you might say something that someone else might think is offensive, whatever. So you know, I like to joke around at work for sure, but yeah, you gotta be careful, right? And at the end show your passion and your professionalism. I think a lot of people appreciate that, you know.
Yeah, true. Yeah, same. I did not have any like female like rivalry or anything. I feel like I get too like so excited when I have like some friend like actually share the same interest. And I feel like, yeah, like I just like, yeah, we just push each other to just like reach like the goal that we want. Cause like I feel like that's what will make us like all happy. Yeah. It's just like I feel like if you like you have to like surround yourself with positive people. Like that's what I learned. It's just like I can't deal with drama at all.
Work is too stressful for drama,
Yeah.
for extra drama on top.
Actually, yeah, I was
Drama
gonna
only on
say
TV shows, right?
no.
I'm okay watching
Sure.
TV shows with drama.
Yeah.
Sure.
I
We
mean,
have K drama for that, so we don't need it.
I mean, like unanimously, that's a lovely answer to hear. And I think that's, I don't know where that question came from, maybe from a 90s movie called Mean Girls or something like that. Like when I read it, I'm like, does that really happen?
I mean, I'm sure a lot of women experience that. I don't know, you know.
Maybe
we're
in
just-
other industries.
other
too.
industries or
like
something, yeah. Or-
100%.
Yeah, there might be other industries that you know, we all nerds here, so we all like to laugh and, you know, be funny and stuff. So maybe that's easier. I don't know.
Like
Oh my God. I when I graduated from, you know, with my fashion degree, I had an interview at a place. I won't name it, but like I'm sure everybody, even if you're not into fashion, you would have known the name. And I just remember walking in and the receptionist like up, like down, up, down. I'm like, no, I don't want to be here. Nope.
That was
This
my
is not
worst
for me.
nightmare, man.
This is not for me. This is not. Nope. Don't like it. Get me out.
Wow.
I like it here though. I love it here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In animation or like an
Yeah.
animation?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean? Oh, okay,
Animation.
yeah.
This industry.
This industry. Yeah.
VFX, animation, games, and all of it.
Okay. That's a lovely, I love that was a unanimous, man, that's so cool. Maybe that's a guy thing. I don't know. The guy's word.
Guy gossip much more than you expect. When I see the chats going around, I'm like, and they talk about us. No,
I just mean in terms of supporting each other, because we can be idiots. Like I think, okay, so the last question that we probably have time for, to be respectful of your time, is do you think that the fight is over, or do you think women still have to fight for better rights and opportunities in the animation industry? Loaded question, but I'm really interested to hear your guys' thoughts on that.
yeah,
Yes.
sorry. Yeah.
Good. No, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mary.
I feel like fight is definitely not over by far. Like I feel like I still like there's still like a lot of room for improvement. There's still a lot of like, yeah, like we have to be represented more, and we have to like have like, yeah, like there's like there should be like more women in like higher positions, and I feel like
Amen.
yeah, like and yeah, like it has to happen some days. Like that's like my goal is like I would just work as like just like and put as much effort as I can to like reach like that position where I can actually like help others and actually like like make it better basically.
100%. Nikie, you look like you were gonna say something.
Oh, yeah. Fight is never over.
Yeah.
It's gonna be there for a really long time. It's probably gonna still be there like long after I'm gone. And even if it feels like it's over, I mean, I think, you know, we have all been like trained and conditioned to be fighters for such a long time that I don't know. It's just gonna be there for a long time. Until we just take over the world and, you know.
Hey. Beyonce has a song about that.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah. I
She's
think
the
a lot of
queen,
it
so.
is what Nikie said. you know, unfortunately, in a way, we have to take the cause almost in our shoulders, each one of us, you know. And that is a burden. That's a heavy burden. But at the same time, if you take it one day at a time, you know, it's just, for me, like, even being a teacher, and like a lot of times when I'm teaching, there's always a group of women. They're like, it's so inspiring to just learn from a woman and see other women succeeding, you know, and getting to places and stuff. And so I think what we're doing here is very inspiring for, you know, and I remember being in school, and the little small amounts of panels that was a woman there in the corner doing something. It was always sometimes, not always, but sometimes the reason that I would go, because I wanted to hear that point of view as well. Not that men's point of view doesn't matter, obviously it does, but I'm saying, like, I wanted to get a different point of view, a different perspective, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to side note it. Like,
Yeah.
I have had a lot of like amazing male mentors and
Right,
a lot
yeah.
of amazing male coworkers who have taught me a ton of
Amazing.
things.
Yeah, that I
so yeah, I
follow
just,
their
Yeah.
steps, you know, and they inspired me so much. Oh my God.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Don't want to like shit on it. It's, yeah.
And they
Okay.
even lift us up. They made us believe in
Yeah.
ourselves, you know. I had my
Yeah.
great mentors, they always made me believe in myself, you know, and that was very important, you know.
For sure. For
On
sure.
that note, I want to say that all of you guys are like, I'm like so inspired by each one of you. I was like, because I feel like I did not have that much experience, and I actually know like how like much experience you guys have. I was super intimidated to do this, but I'm like super glad to be here, and I'm super glad to get to meet you all. It's just like, you guys are so awesome.
Oh,
Ditto.
Yes,
that's
same.
right.
This is a love fest.
See, we're all like, you know,
Yeah.
lifting each other up, and like
It's
maybe we
important.
don't even know each other that well. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Um,
a thing. We're not just being
um,
nice for the camera.
I am not.
So if you guys don't mind, ladies don't mind, we can move on to Q&A for a little bit. We don't have a ton of time, but we have a few questions here. So Bettina, hi Bettina, hello.
Bettina!
Do you know Bettina?
She was my student, yes.
Oh, really?
Uh-oh.
Hi Bettina. I think you have to.
She's also my doppelganger. You can see on the photo. We look
Oh yeah,
a lot
kinda.
alike.
Hi Bettina, do you want to come on camera, or do you want me to ask her a question for you? Either way. We can wait until she kind of maybe figures out her situation. What about LA Ponce? Are you still on the call? It's going wonderfully. I cannot be on camera, sorry. Okay, yeah. So, oh yeah, it's fine. So what is your question, Bettina? Oh, okay. Bettina asks, what is the best advice you can give for us who are beginning to study on our own? That's a great question. I'm assuming outside of school.
I think there's so much content out there, right? So my first can be very overwhelming, right? So my first tip will be like, what are the people they admire? Do they have classes? Do they teach that stuff, you know? For me, I always look for classes of people that I admire, not just as artists, but as people as well. Sometimes you don't know as much how they are as people, but when I admire their work and you see that they have you know, classes, teaching, etc., I normally go for those things. Yeah, because it can be very overwhelming, the amount of content out there, you know. So try to be selective with the stuff you're gonna study, and obviously there's a ton of free stuff, very good, right? So if you don't have the budget yet to invest too much on like a class of a big artist from Pixar or whatever, you can start looking for, again, like even contact maybe some artists they admire, like, hey, do you have any suggestions of classes because sometimes those people have no other artists more and what they've been doing, etc. You know, that would be my suggestion.
Yeah, like I can just say the same thing because I learned by myself. And I think the one big thing is don't be afraid to reach out. Of course, everybody's busy, but normally if you send a nice message or email to whoever, they normally love to help and like just read and give you feedback. It's like just overcoming this fear of like, oh no, I don't want to annoy anybody and oh my God. And yeah, like the super low budgets way for me was like looking for a forum or like websites and just post, like, don't be ashamed to post online, even if it looks weird, you're learning. And people normally like to reach out and just help.
It's
Yeah,
true.
I would say collaborate as much as you can. I also taught myself for the most part, on top of like the very amazing managers I was very lucky to cross paths with. But go on ArtStation, go on Instagram, go, like if you want to be a texture artist, book development artist, go find a model on ArtStation and message that person. Hey, can I texture your model? If you want a model, go find somebody on ArtStation that you like, something you want to get paid for. Like find a style that you like, that you actually want somebody to pay you for at the end of the day when you're building your portfolio, and make that piece. And obviously ask for permission. I cannot stand when people do not ask for
And put
permission
credits,
and
the
put
person's
credits.
name. Yeah.
Yes, don't steal people's stuff. Even if it's like you're just learning, like if at the end of the day you're gonna post it on Instagram or ArtStation, definitely ask people.
Yeah.
If it's okay. I just had somebody steal one of my pieces and like use it as a mural in a graphic art fest. And I sent a very angry email like, what is this? Oh, I found it online and it didn't have copyright on it, so I just used it. Like, wait, what?
Yeah.
No, you could have found me. Just Google image. Can drag an image in there. So anyway, yes, collaborate, don't steal stuff. Yeah, shorts. There's so many people making shorts out there. I mean, probably not very much money in them, but it's a really good way to get like moving images on your reel, because everybody there is also trying to do the same thing. They're also trying to make a story. So yeah, cool.
I feel like focusing on one area is good because, like Leticia said, there's a lot out there, and like there's so many different parts to the animation pipeline. And when you're starting out, it can be tempting to want to like learn everything. Like, oh, I want to learn animation, modeling, texturing, effects, like storyboarding, literally everything. But you do have to focus on something because, like, at the end, you're only going to be doing one job. Even if you are a generalist, you're typically like an asset generalist or a CG generalist or whatever.
It's like typically, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna add to that, like knowing the parts before you and after you in the pipeline are like just super bonus points. But sorry, keep going on.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like it is good to know a little bit about everything, but I don't think you have to like spend all your time like deep diving into every single area. Like you kind of want to focus your reel and, you know, like do learn about everything because that's how you decide what you want to do. But if you like read about everything and maybe touch everything a little bit and then you decide, hey, I want to be like a lighting artist or whatever, then just go for that and just put that in your reel and do those tutorials. Like you don't have to learn how to do everything deep.
Yeah, and like having a project, like give yourself a project to do that stuff with. You know, you're just gonna go down like a tutorial rabbit hole of,
right.
Oh
Doesn't matter how many videos you watch, if you don't practice. There are studies on this. Like after a week, 90% of you study, if you don't put into practice, goes away. You know.
Oh,
There's
wow,
some people that have good brains. Mine is it's probably 100% goes away if I don't practice. You know?
I need to do it. Yeah, I need to like actually
there's
physically be
definitely
doing it.
a balance, right, Nikie, where I like to think 50-50, where me myself, I like to study like some nights on the week, and then some other nights I prefer putting into practice, you know, making personal projects. Yeah.
Also make your own like project. It's good that you see tutorials but don't actually create the same thing, because like a lot of
Yes.
people see it, a lot of people have the same reel basically, and for effects I feel like it's also better to have story like for each, like I try like in my reel, in my work, I try to put like a story behind whatever I do, like even if it's like as simple as like just the bubbles underwater. It has like, for me it's just like a shipwreck or something. It does not have to be like I put my effects on it or something, but it has a story that I created in my head, and that actually makes it fun for me to work on, and it makes it more interesting for people, for
People
like
engage.
and they will be like, oh, this reel is not as a lot of reels, so like that's how like basically you get picked, because people remember your reel, make it
Yeah.
I guess.
Yes, I think it's so important that you don't do the things you think somebody expects you to do. That's like exactly what you said, like just put your own story in it and people will just appreciate it
Yeah.
far more.
I always like to say to my students, like, for me, for example, I do not like modeling cars. And then every teacher I had, it will be like, well, you need to have a hard surface. You need to have a vehicle. And I'm like, I don't want to have a vehicle. I don't want to have to make a car, you know what I mean? So anyways, it's like, go with your heart in a sense, you know, like a lot of people are going to tell what you have to do, but at the end is your life, is your career. So you have to take a moment and talk to yourself, you know, and figure out what you want to present yourself as an artist. And even if it takes a little longer for you to get hired, but then you get hired for maybe what you want to do, you know, not maybe on your first job, but hopefully a few jobs after that, you know.
Right. Next question from Ale. If they want to come on the call, I think you're still there. Yes, no, yes. I can ask if you don't want to come on screen. I just think it's fun if like people ask themselves. But people, you know, it's okay if not. Ale asks, what's one thing that surprised you when you started to work in this industry?
How much work it is.
Cool. That is a universally like agreed upon bit.
OT.
Yeah,
A lot
a
of work.
lot.
I can
Yeah.
say one thing that it didn't surprise
Yes.
me, but I see surprising a lot of people, which is the feeling when you got to a job that like, oh, I don't have ownership to stuff. And you shouldn't feel that, because it's a collective project. You know what I mean? It's like a lot of people younger, they go in and they want to have that feeling, but you know, what you're doing is just a little grain of sand that is gonna come with people from look, and then animation, then effects, and then they become something, right? So as a collective vision, so I like to say, like, work on your expectations about work. That's why I always like to say also, make your personal projects there. You're gonna be your art director, you're gonna be your concept artist, you're gonna be your lighter, whatever you want, and then you have ownership to that. But at work, we have to remember that that's a collective vision, and we got to move towards that vision together. There's no, you know, you got to lower that feeling, that ego, and let it flow with the story, you know. And then at home, you do everything you like to do, you know, and that's what I try to do.
I mean, if you want a lot of ownership, like if you want to model and you want a texture and you want to do the hair and maybe like a little bit more, I'd say like the commercial industry is probably the closest. When I was there, I was the modeler, I was a texture artist, I did layout, I did a little bit of lighting, like I did own a lot of things at the same time, but I liked doing the textures the most. So I was like, okay, maybe the commercial industry isn't really for me because I don't like doing all of these things all the time. But so yeah, it's just like you said, like what do you want to do? And personal projects are where you can do all of it and be your own art director, and that's your thing.
Yeah.
I think
Go ahead, Mariam.
Sorry. What surprised me was like, it's a really, I don't know, I would not say, yeah, I would say it's good, not negative, but it's just like, because coming from working from Egypt, I know people does not get paid overtime there, and I'm like, you're getting paid, and I was like, it was not surprising because I knew that, but it was just like really hoping that Egypt would change their way of like just like assuming that like yeah you're like the companies like yeah like you have like to work overtime and not get paid basically because you're an employee here. I wish that they would do that, hopefully.
That's so huge. So like across all industries, or you're just saying like in like your industry?
Specifically in the entertainment industry. I know for sure that, like my friends there, like they work overtime and not get paid for it. And like if you refuse to do that, you basically be replaced because they think like they say that you're not actually working as hard because a lot of it actually like be okay with working overtime without getting paid. So like if you're saying no, that's like, oh, like we're just gonna replace you with another artist to actually like say yes to that.
That's true. Back home in Brazil, I used to work until 2 a.m. There was no dinner, there was no overtime, nothing. And sometimes they would say like, well, you can go finish at home because they wanted to go home. It was like, oh, you can go home, finish the work. I'm like, okay, thank you. And I'll go home to work.
Yeah, I had a, like, it's not a funny experience, but like I was working in London and we tried to finish a movie, and the same company also had like a location in France. So because we had to finish the movie, they brought their French artists. We didn't get paid OT. They worked the same, got OT and food money. And we were just like, we're doing literally the same thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was really surprising that it depends where you work. Even if you're in the same like building, it's different. It's crazy.
I've been on both sides of the spectrum. Like I think when I first got here and I was working in VFX, I think like I had worked, you know, a couple of days, like 36 hours straight, like just to finish shots. I mean, there was just none of, you know, we were a very small team. But now that I'm in LA and I'm in the union, it's like there's rules, and I'm 100% okay with those rules, and like OT is very nice. And yeah, it's a weird thing for me to be in this situation because I had never gotten paid OT before, except for like one studio before. But yeah, LA is like, it's a big thing here to do, and I hope the game industry gets there and like the VFX gets there. But yeah.
Okay, that's great. Lulu, are you there? Do you want to come on and ask her a question, or Lulu? I can ask her a question, unless you want to ask it. In her avatar, it looks like she's sleeping. Maybe she's sleeping in real life as well.
Start talking
This is your time
OT.
to show your face and put yourself in the situation.
Wake her up. Yeah. I was gonna say at the count of 3 weeks, just yell her name. But her question is, what would be your advice to someone who wants to pursue animation as a career? You're such an inspiration. I'm assuming to the animator in the room, Kristin Müller. I think so. I mean, I'll ask her when she wakes up, but
Okay.
You can ask my question. That's me with my eyes closed in the photo. Lulu, was that general question, or was it animation specifically, or? But go ahead, Kristin, sorry.
Sorry, the question was how to start in the animation industry?
Yeah, what would be your advice?
Okay.
Someone who wants to start animation.
What would be my advice? I think like the hardest thing is always like getting the first job. And I don't think it really matters what, I mean, like, I don't think it matters what it is. I know a lot of students want to go to like feature and like go work on the big movies really early in their career. And I started in TV. And as I said, like just 1 year at a TV studio, you produce so much content like each day. And it's like doing a test, not a test shot, of course, but like doing like running, like subtle stuff, and just like, I think doing a lot and not expecting it to be perfect will help you. And so I don't think it matters where you start working, if it's commercial, if it's TV, and just like sending out a lot of application and like taking the first step, because as soon as you're in it, you also hear about other jobs and who's looking. And yeah, I think that's like, don't go for the, you will reach it if you want to later. So don't go and be sad that you maybe cannot start it as a Disney intern or yeah. So I think it's just like learning a lot and like not being afraid to like fail and just do really, because like in TV, I really love that studio because they always said, do as much as you can because we know you can do it, but we don't expect it to be perfect because it's that quick. And that's just like the more often, what the other said, the more projects you do, the more often you do it, the faster you learn.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's 100% right. Thank you, Kristin. And then we can end on this one because it's a loaded question a little bit, but it's by anonymous attendee. And this is good for a lot of the students out there too. So they ask, have you experienced a lack of stability in the industry? They are an undergrad student about to graduate, and one of the common things their professors have warned them about is the industry is very project-based, so it can be really hard to stay in one company for a long time. So thoughts on that? Stability of the industry, navigating a career in the animation industry.
I feel like Kristin said, it does not matter. Like you have just to start the first job. So don't be like, oh, I just want to start like work for Disney from the start or something. You just like start for the first job. I feel like this is something I do as well, where like I know that for effects it's a project based and you can just like get a gig for 3 months, you can get a gig for like 1 year, and you can like there's a lot of like different time span for each job. So I feel like as much as like you do like the job, you will do your real like at some point, I hope in the future you would not be like so scared like to actually get the job, because like the offers would get to you and then you will just kind of choose like which one do you actually want to work on, and just like reject the other offers. But yeah, and at some point like you can get staff position. That's also a thing. So don't get too scared to pursue what you want based on that. It's just like it's a thing. But like we're working, so like a lot of people are still working, like, and they like you just built up your reel, you go to like another gig, and you just like you move on, and I feel like that's like it's a thing, but you don't make it like it's to be like super scared that you actually stop working.
Right.
I would say the same thing. Like it is a thing, and it's scary when you're out of school, but it gets easier. The same way Mariam just said. Like the more you do it, the more portfolio you're gonna have, and eventually it's gonna be more which studio you want to choose to work. It might be a few months. You're like, oh, you're not lucky, and you cannot find a position for you. But I don't think is you can't stay too many months without work. Mm-hmm. One thing I would say though is that for me, in my experience, doing personal projects and updating my portfolio all the time helped me in every single job I got. Because every time I go to an interview, they look at the stuff I did on Studio A or B, and then they're like, oh, this is your personal work. Tell me about this. What is your thought process? Why did you texture or light or model this way? So I would say I have friends that didn't do much personal work, and then they're working somewhere that they didn't want to be working, or the portfolio they're building at that studio, whatever studio, is not what they want to present themselves. Then that's even more important to do personal work, because if you're not doing at work what you want to be presented for the studio that you want to get next, you have to do on your own time. That's just the reality. And hopefully you get to a place where you're like, okay, now I'm doing what I want to be doing at the place I want to be. And then that's great. You just do personal work for fun. But a lot of times the personal work can be a huge factor on how do you progress on your career, especially at the beginning,
Yeah, and I think like the last 2 gigs that I've had my reel is completely personal work.
Wow.
Like I wasn't really happy with what I was working on at the studio. It was just really paying the rent. And I was like, no, I want to do this other thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to make these things. So like on the topic of stability, it is always in the back of my mind, and I'm always continuously working on stuff in the background that are kind of like my plan B. But I mean, I would say like COVID's definitely, this is terrible, but it is a positive that a lot of things are going remote these days. It's easier to get a gig because there's so much remote work. But yeah, I wouldn't not get into the industry because your teacher's telling you that it's not stable, because there's so much work right now. It's crazy.
I would say
like,
every industry has a certain level of instability. It's what you
every
do
industry.
with it, you know, it's how you perceive it, right?
Yeah, and it's like, I know that if you only have short project, it always sounds scary, but it can be good. Imagine like you don't like where you work. It's like an easy way out. And if you have, let's say your next gig is in like 3 months, I know you don't get paid, but you can actually do personal stuff where when you actually work, like you normally are focused on your work in the studio, so you don't have time. So even if it's instability, you actually, like, it's nice to know that like in a year you have a break if you want to, because your contract ends and you could go back to the same studio for the next contract or whatever, but you could have a break if you want to. Where in normal jobs, you're like with the same, at least it's in Germany, it's like the normal thing where you get your job and you're in this job for like 10 years. And the good thing also is when you lose your job, you're actually forced to change something.
Yeah,
it's like sometimes like this weird blessing in disguise where you're like, okay, I don't have this, now I have to actually do something. And of course, instability is not good at all, but it can sometimes kick your butt a little bit. So
keeps
you
you
do
humble.
stuff.
Keeps you humble.
It does.
Yes.
I mean, and studio, like I'm such a big fan of studio hopping, like especially if you're right out of school, like you meet so many people, like 10 gigs, 10 different studios, that's 10 different networks of people that can all help you at the end of the day. Like, you know, you prove yourself, you show, whipping that back around, prove yourself, and you show that you're a really good worker, and they remember who you are. And the next time someone asks, hey, do you know a person that does this? And you're still in their brain. And it's, I mean, truly this industry is like who you know, unfortunately. But like the more network that you have and the more like short-term gigs you work on, the bigger your network grows. So I don't know. I'm personally like a huge fan of studio hopping, like especially like earlier in your career, like take risks and just go taste a bunch of different meals and figure out which one you like the best.
And it's the best way to get more money as well. Like you hop and you just like raise.
Yes,
You just
it
like
is.
You raise your rate.
That is 100% true.
Yeah, I know people do that all the time just to get, you know, raise your rate, your hour rate. You know.
I think the first job is definitely the hardest.
Yeah.
And I think it seems scary too for a lot of students, because like back in the olden days of not just animation,
Not that
but
any
like
of us
in
are
general.
old enough for
No.
olden days.
I'm talking about before any of us were born. But like not just in animation, but in this country in general, like people would get hired out of college and then they'd work at one place, one company for like their entire lives, right? Like my parents are like that. Like my mom has worked in the same place, not her whole life, but like for, you know, 30, 40 years. I don't even know how long. That was very normal. And I feel like
culture, right?
Yeah. And I feel like the whole country has changed. The industry has changed. You know, like I had a professor in college who like, he went to Cal Arts. He got a job at Disney before he graduated as a 2D animator. He worked there for his entire career, and then he retired and went to teaching. And like, that's pretty rare nowadays. Like you don't see many people like that anymore who like stay at one studio their whole career or stay at one job their entire career. It's just the way it's kind of changing. And I think instead of being scared, like the rest of everybody was saying, like you can use it to be excited and think about like all the cool different people you can meet and all the cool experiences you can have working on different things. Think about how much you can learn working at all these different studios, you know? Different styles, right? Like you go to a studio like DreamWorks, you work on one style, Sony another style, and then Netflix and Disney, you know. So you have the chance to experiment, like Nikie said, so many different meals and flavors, you know, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, one of the advices that my supervisor at Disney gave me, she said, like, you're young, you should hop around a lot so like you can get a lot of experience from a lot of people and a lot of like learn more pipeline, and just like when you just, I don't know, I guess get like older and you want to settle down, you can choose whichever studio you want to work on. Like, yeah. And I'm taking this advice like my so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Like, why stay within one, like, kind of like, kind of microcosm of just kind of like a certain studio or people? Like, might as well, in the beginning anyway, too, of just kind of like, experience different, because like every studio is different completely. And, it's good to get a variety of experiences, especially in the beginning.
Yeah. And for me, just one more thing, like I would say,
Oh, yeah,
the fact that I did hop studios, it brought some experience that some people at the studio for like 10, 15 years didn't have.
Yeah.
Like you bring a fresh set of eyes, you bring different tools that are being used, you bring different ideas for pipelines, So
100%.
at least the studios I've been, they appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, 100%.
I think I've broken every single pipeline. Like every time I start a new studio, it's like, oh wait, you don't have a thing that does this, or oh, you do have a thing, but I'm used to doing it this way. And I mean, it's kind of a gift and a curse, because then you always hate when people
You're always
are like,
gonna
oh,
miss something.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, at Studio A, we had this thing.
Yeah.
Like I hate saying that, but like my first commercial gig, everybody there had been there for a very long time, and I think I was the first person that they actually hired outside of the studio in a while. And I remember showing them something in Mental Right, and they were like, wait a second, we've been doing it this way this whole time. And I'm like, I don't even know what that is. I can't believe you were doing it manually that whole time. There's a button for it. Like vanilla Mental Right. Yeah. So it's good. It's good to learn from other people, from other studios, and you take that stuff with you. And as long as you check your ego at the door and don't say like, well, we have to do it this way.
Because that can go the wrong way.
That's also very
and you're like, wait, what?
Yes.
And then you start pointing fingers. It's like, come on, don't do that.
Yeah. Totally.
Two things I wanted to mention before we close out here. We were talking about females supporting females, and I think 3D.divas on Instagram is the perfect example of that, of just kind of like, an organization that promotes and spotlights amazing 3D artists like around the world, which is indicative of just kind of the people in this industry. And so on that point, I just wanted to say, and I always like to tell attendees, like the panelists that come on to these kind of like panels, like Rise Up Animation panels, they come on wanting to share their experiences. They come on wanting to share their stories and encourage other people that are coming up behind them. And these are the kinds of people that you meet in the industry. I mean, there's a lot of talk about kind of like, yes, there are crusty people and jaded, cynical people in the industry, but there are more people like everyone on this panel that want to help you and are there for you, whether you come in as an intern, trainee, production person, like starter, anything like that.
100%.
The industry is full of people like these panelists that are encouraging, inspiring, and want to help you when you come in. So if it can quell any kind of fears of like, kind of an aspiring animation person coming in, these are your people. These are the kind of people that you will meet. And they're gracious, they're kind with their time. No one got paid for this panel. Did I pay you guys yet? No, okay.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting.
No, where's the check?
They're taking time out of their day because they remember what it was like to hustle, and they remember what it was like to try to get into the industry. And these lovely folks are the kind of people that you will meet and work with when you get into the animation industry. It's not a perfect industry. I'll say that, but that's beyond our control.
That's
what
just
is-
nature of life, right, Bobby? It's like nothing is, it's not the industry. It's like nothing is gonna be perfect. No one has control of anything. You
we
know?
don't have we don't have all the control over the business side of things, but we can be good people and we can kind of come together and share our experiences with you guys and tell you that it's possible. No matter where you're coming from, whatever corner of the world you're coming from, it's possible, you can do it, and we will be here to support you when you guys do it. If there's any kind of parting words that you guys wanted to say to our community before we kind of log off, feel free. And you guys have the center stage.
I want to say to just like tell people, help each other out, or try to help others, because like when you whatever you are at whatever level you are at, because I got helped a lot by people, and now I feel like I try to help other people too. So don't be afraid to share your knowledge, share whatever, how you got there, and try to pull each other up instead of just I don't know,
Yeah,
grab all the knowledge for yourself and not
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if you think you have nothing to offer, you can always help somebody else, even if it's just like your classmate or that other person who's also learning, and you offer them some critique or even just some encouragement. Like that goes a long way.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, you get back what you give out. So the more you share, the more people want to share with you. Like you learn something in a tutorial, you learn that, you don't want to keep that to yourself. Share it with your friends, share it with the class. And people will want to come back to you and share that information. They find something, they share it with you. So for sure, yeah, always lifting people up and just don't stick to yourself.
Yeah.
But I would say I agree 100% with the sharing. I want to say something different just to be different, but not just to be different, but not to repeat. But I would say challenge yourself to love yourself more every day. It's a small, it's a step, it's an everyday step, and we all know that we can be very critical and very mean to ourselves, inside ourselves. And as a woman, culture even we get that embedded. There's a lot to fight. There's a lot going on in our heads. So what I would say is take some time on your day to work with yourself, even if you like meditating, or if you like journaling, or if you like grab a coffee with a friend, or even just close your eyes and think about some stuff that you created in your mind that you want to challenge. Like you keep saying yourself oh, I'm a forgetful person, or whatever. Sit with yourself and challenge that, because at some point when you're very young, you created that voice and it came from outside and you had no control to be critical about it. And then you grow up and you walk your life with those voices that it's not yours. Those are things that you learn when you're a kid and you didn't have the capacity to question at that point. So it's nice to revisit those things in your mind and recreate who you are, and again, it's a everyday battle. I like to call it's a journey, everyday journey you have to do to love yourself a bit more, and it never ends because there's a lot inside of us, as you all know.
And not to make a joke out of this, but I honestly think I need to schedule a 4 o'clock with myself every day. And that was very good advice.
I like meditating. It helps me a lot, and but you find what works for you. A lot of people like to write, talk to yourself as you're writing, questioning stuff. And if you can't afford, do therapy, because that's even better. I've been doing therapy for more than 8 years now, and it helped me so much with my confidence and my self-love and in my relationship with people.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I feel there's nothing for me to add. It's just it was so lovely. I don't know any of you. I know you guys know each other. It's just so nice to just listen to all these stories and just feel all the support. So yeah, I can only say thank you. It was really nice.
Well, you know us now.
I know.
Yeah.
I will reach out later.
Now we're friends.
Now we can
Definitely.
grab coffee, online coffee.
Virtual, yeah. It has to be a virtual one. I mean, I will just say too, like, if anybody wants to reach out, like, I'm always on Instagram. Please don't send me a LinkedIn message. I probably won't read it. I have so many of them. They're like piling up. I have like 100, and I really can't stand when people just out of the blue ask me to connect without a message. I don't know if that's like the elder millennial in me, but please do not do that. I don't have Facebook. I hate Facebook. I don't do that anymore. And I feel like that's the only way people are trying to connect with me is LinkedIn. And I don't really use that either. So Instagram, Twitter, like any questions that didn't get answered here, like I'm happy to try and answer them there as well. Or, you know, cool. I put my handles in here if you guys want.
Yeah. No, I think we tagged. Maybe.
Oh, did you tag? Okay,
maybe.
never mind.
Oh no, maybe. But
You tagged all of us. Like
they're on. Oh, okay. Yeah. See, I'm like, I don't remember what I did yesterday. Okay.
Well,
nice.
I'm tired.
Let's say if anyone wants to reach out, I completely am available. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thanks for the invite for the 3D
Yes.
divas. They're super sweet and nice,
Yeah.
you know, and the
No,
Rise
it
Up,
was
such a beautiful projects, you know, both of them, and yeah. And
I agree.
there's a lot of people on the chat here that could be on this panel, so don't expect people to reach out to you. If you want to inspire, you can reach out to people too, you know, and make yourself available. Hey, here's my work. If you ever feel like I could be someone to do a talk or something, I'm available, you know, because sometimes it's just you have to search, right? You have to go grab it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I love that we kind of ended on that mental health note. I mean, I think in closing, I think I hope everyone's doing well. I know, like, it's been like 2 years since in quarantine, and so like I hope that everyone's like kind of finding their way to being healthy mentally, and it's not the easiest thing to do, but if there's some way that kind of 3D divas and Rise Up Animation can kind of like put on these kind of like virtual things to help you feel like less alone, or just kind of talk about these kinds of things. And I'd never met anyone on this panel in person ever, but now, I mean, like, if we ever get back to normal times, you know, we can all kind of get together and interact and that kind of stuff. But like, I mean, for any, you know, I mean, you know how it is. I mean, like, anyone looking to get into the industry, aspiring to get into the industry and thinking that it's impossible, it's not. And we're all here to tell you that it's not. And we're all here to tell you our stories so that we can sort of like show you that you can do anything. It might be harder or easier or anything like that, but we all have, we're there to support you wherever we can. So all that said, thank you, panelists, for being here. Whose birthday is it? I just saw a happy birthday.
happy birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday! Catherine, is it Catherine's birthday? Catherine.
Catherine, no, I think it was B's birthday.
Oh, B?
B.
Of
Bay?
course.
B.
Baby, I don't know.
Baby. It was lovely meeting everyone, and let's hope our paths cross again soon, yeah?
Yeah. Thank you for having us.
100%.
Thank you for
thank
your
you.
time.
Yes.
Big hugs, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Have an amazing weekend. Bye, bye, bye.